Canada is the fastest growing country in the entire world. This is because of immigration. Today we will be talking about how the population growth has significantly affected Canada. Now, some of the things that I'll be covering today, I will be talking about the housing crisis. I'm going to be talking about the healthcare system currently and just shed light on what is the current situation in Canada and things like that. So there has been a new immigration minister for a year now, and that immigration minister has implemented a lot of changes. Now, there are behind the scenes goals towards all the changes that are happening as it relates to immigration. So the major challenges that have been happening in immigration recently is that there has been a housing crisis, and this is a crisis that has been announced in Canada. What this means is that there are many people who find it very difficult to find affordable housing or find housing in general. Now, something you need to note, and this is something that I mentioned in another video where I said don't come to Canada if. Now, that video, I link it here, but one of the first things that I said in that video is that it doesn't make sense to come to Canada if you want to live in a big city. I said this because the persons who are significantly affected by the housing crisis is persons who lives in these big cities, and that makes Canada more unaffordable. And as a result of that, people have been complaining and have been saying that they cannot afford basic things in Canada. They cannot afford anything because of how expensive rent is. Now, one of the main things you have to understand is that these people who are complaining usually, and the only people that I've seen who've complained so far, are only located in 2 provinces in Canada. Now, Canada has a total of 10 provinces, so if only 2 provinces are complaining about the housing crisis and saying that everything is significantly unaffordable, it does mean that there must be something wrong. Now, the 2 main cities that has the most significant impact in the housing crisis would be Toronto and Vancouver. These are 2 cities that are the most expensive cities in Canada, and that is something very important to make a note of when you want to travel to Canada. Now, there are many people that are located in Toronto that watches my video, and the only thing that I would say to you is that there are many places, many cities out there, which is another video that I did recently where I spoke about the most affordable cities in Canada. I'm going to link that here. If you haven't watched that video, definitely go and check out that video where I spoke about the most affordable cities in Canada. On this list, I did not mention Toronto because Toronto is way too expensive. So if you're located in Toronto and you're thinking you want to move, you don't know to where, you can watch that video and see some of the most affordable cities. And I tried to find some of the big cities to place there so it doesn't feel like a significant change when you move. So despite the fact that there are many changes to immigration in Canada, there are still many people who travels to Canada. Despite the fact that there are so many restrictions and there are many people who cannot come to Canada right now, there are still many people still traveling to Canada, still immigrating to Canada, students coming into Canada, workers coming into Canada, and permanent residents coming into Canada even right now. Now, what has happened is that the population significantly increased because there were many refugees coming into Canada, many permanent residents, there were many workers. There was a lot of immigration happening in the last 4 to 5 years. There has been a lot of immigrating happening, and because of that, the amenities and just infrastructure and just everything just could not keep up with the amount of people that was traveling to Canada. However, this does not mean that Canada does not need immigrants anymore. It doesn't mean that Canada is full. And if you think that Canada is full, you can definitely comment down below and let me know if you think Canada is full. But in my opinion, Canada is nowhere close to being full. The main thing is that most people are still traveling to the big cities. If you travel to the big cities in Canada, then it's going to feel full. because you're only traveling to one location, and then there's a high demand of housing, high demand for everything, and so the prices increase. It's all economy. Now, as it relates to affordability in Canada, again, it still comes down to these two cities and probably these two provinces, British Columbia and Ontario. There are many cities, there are many provinces in Canada that still needs people. The problem is when people come to these provinces, for example, I live in Prince Edward Island, and when people come to Prince Edward Island, they all come to Charlottetown. If you all come to Charlottetown, then the rest of Prince Edward Island is still empty. And that is why things in Charlottetown is going to start to become very expensive. There is going to be long waiting times because everyone is immigrating to just one particular place in everywhere that they go. There isn't anyone going to Summerside, there isn't anyone going to Albany and all the other places out there. No one is going to these places. Everyone still comes to Charlottetown. Like, everybody just moves here and they come to the same place. If you move and everybody moves to the same exact place, then it's going to feel as though it's unaffordable. But that doesn't mean that is actually true. There are many locations in Canada that still needs people. I can just talk as an example with Prince Edward Island. Charlottetown is the only place that is full. Everywhere else in Prince Edward Island can still fit more people. So that is just something very important to note about traveling to Canada, is that Canada is not full. Yes, immigration is getting harder, and that is because they're trying to reduce the numbers because it was way too easy in the past. However, that doesn't mean that immigration has stopped, because it hasn't. So if you thought it did, it didn't. The healthcare is the same thing. Because of the population growth, because everybody is coming into the one location, that is why in the healthcare system, if you go to the hospital, you're waiting 8 to 12 hours. It's because everybody lives in the one same area. Everybody moves to the one same area. No one goes out into the other places. And I understand why. I understand why you don't go there, because you've never heard of the place before. Your friends go to one place and that is where they all recommend, because that is where they are going. But it is good to launch out and look into other places. Summerside is a good location to live. They have jobs, they have house, everything, affordable house, everything is right there. But everybody just moved to Charlottetown. But there are other places here. You can also just move to Canada and start a business. That is a good way to make money as well, and a good way to immigrate. And it's not a strain on anybody because you are providing jobs. Come here, start up some buildings. Like, there's a housing crisis, come and build some houses here. It will be helpful for everybody involved. So ultimately, with the whole population growth and everything, I do not believe that Canada is unaffordable. I do not believe that Canada is somewhere where you cannot come and be successful anymore. I do not believe that Canada is full. I definitely know that there are many opportunities inside of Canada, and they are going nowhere. When I drive, majority of everywhere that I go is pure bush, trees, forest. That's everywhere along the street. Like, the immigration is not going anywhere. And yes, it might seem as though they're not letting people into the country or something like that, but quite frankly, immigration is not going anywhere. Like, if you want to immigrate here, you can immigrate here. If you want to be successful in Canada, it is still a place where you can move to and still be successful. It's all about what you want in life. If you want to hear more videos where I talk more about Canadian immigration in general, you can definitely subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.